Here's a clip.
In our modern world, we're living one of the greatest paradoxes of human existence. Every day, I watch thousands of people chase relationships, desperately seeking that missing piece they believe will make them whole. You see, we've been programmed to believe that loneliness is a disease and companionship is the cure. But what if I told you that the exact opposite is true? Here's what fascinates me about the human brain and consciousness. When you're constantly surrounded by others, always connected, always validated by external sources, your brain actually operates in its most limited state. You become quite literally addicted to other people's energy. And that's not just philosophy, that's pure neuroscience. Let me share something extraordinary that happened in our research. We had this participant, let's call her Maria. For 20 years, she jumped from relationship to relationship, never spending more than a few months single. I can't be alone, she told us. I just can't handle the silence. You see, Maria's brain had become hardwired to seek external validation. Her neural pathways were literally shaped by dependency. But here's where it gets interesting. When we started measuring her brain activity during our meditation workshops, something remarkable happened. After just 3 weeks of practicing conscious solitude, not loneliness, but intentional, aware solitude, her brain waves changed dramatically. The constant beta wave activity, that chattering, anxious frequency, began to slow down. Her brain started producing more alpha waves, then theta waves, the same patterns we see in advanced meditators. And this is where the science becomes absolutely fascinating. In a state of conscious solitude, your brain releases different combinations of neurotransmitters. Instead of the addictive rush of dopamine you get from external validation, you begin producing sustainable levels of serotonin and GABA, the chemicals associated with genuine contentment and peace. Think about this for a moment. Your brain has the remarkable ability to evolve beyond its primitive need for constant connection. You're carrying around the most sophisticated technology in the known universe right between your ears, yet most people never learn to operate it at its highest potential. When you choose to be alone, truly alone with your consciousness, you initiate a cascade of neurological events that literally reshape your brain. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for higher thinking and emotional regulation, becomes more active. The amygdala, your fear center, begins to quiet down. And this is in theory. We can see these changes on brain scans. But here's the most important part. This transformation isn't just about being physically alone. It's about learning to be energetically self-sufficient. When you master this, something magical happens. You stop operating from a place of need and start creating from a place of wholeness. And from the moment we're born, society feeds us a powerful story. It's everywhere in our movies, our music, our books, our family conversations. The story goes like this. You're incomplete until you find the one. And you see, this isn't just cultural programming. It's literally rewiring your brain's neural circuits to create a state of perpetual seeking. Let me explain what happens in your brain when you're caught in this cycle. Every time you seek validation from another person, your brain releases a quick burst of dopamine. It feels good, right? But here's the thing, it's temporary. And so you need more and more. It's exactly the same neural pathway that creates addiction to substances. You're literally becoming addicted to other people's approval, their presence, their energy. I remember working with this brilliant scientist, Michael. He had 3 PhDs, could solve complex quantum equations in his head, but he couldn't spend a Friday night alone. You see, even with all his intellectual understanding, his brain was operating on these deeply embedded programs. Every time he felt the discomfort of being alone, his sympathetic nervous system would activate a fight or flight mode. His cortisol levels would spike, his heart rate would increase, and he'd immediately reach for his phone to find someone, anyone to connect with. And this is where it gets really interesting. When we measured Michael's brain activity during these moments of panic, we saw intense beta wave patterns. The signature of an anxious, seeking mind. But here's what's fascinating. These patterns weren't natural. They were learned responses created by years of social conditioning. You see, your brain is constantly scanning your environment, looking for cues about what's safe and what's dangerous. And society has programmed us to interpret solitude as danger. It's triggering the same survival mechanisms in your brain that your ancestors used to avoid being eaten by predators. But here's the profound truth. This is a false alarm. When we look at the quantum field, the invisible energy that connects all things, we see something remarkable. Every person is already complete, already whole at an energetic level. The feeling of incompleteness isn't coming from a real lack. It's coming from a program running in your brain that says you need someone else to be complete. Think about this. Every cell in your body knows how to maintain perfect balance on its own. Your heart beats without external input. Your lungs know exactly when to breathe. Your DNA repairs itself without consulting anyone else. You're already a masterpiece of self-sufficiency at a biological level. So why have we convinced ourselves that we need another person to be emotionally complete? The neural patterns that keep you trapped in seeking behaviors are like deep grooves in your brain. Every time you act on the urge to seek external validation, you deepen these grooves. But here's the incredible thing about neuroplasticity. You can create new patterns. You can literally rewire your brain to find completeness within yourself.
So you notice in our modern society, especially the people who operate at a 3D level where they are disconnected from the spiritual realm, they're very much programmed into the matrix, and they are programmed into the matrix way of living. You'll find that a lot of them are very unhappy being alone. They have a big problem with solitude. They have a big problem when it comes to holidays because they feel very alone. They don't have any good relationship with their family. They don't have any lovers to be with, so therefore it makes these people become more depressed. So this modern age society, even though we have all these technologies and all these gadgets around that makes us more connected, we can connect with people across the planet, and we have 400 or people living in one building, yet people feel very disconnected. They feel very alone living in crowded cities. Why is that? Well, it boils down to people not having a very good connection with themselves. So what I come to know is that people, the ones who feel really lonely and really unhappy being alone, they have this feeling because they don't truly have a connection and a relationship with self. They're usually preoccupied with external validation. Having a relationship is external validation in order for you to be happy. And if you need constant external validation to feel happiness, that's a problem. That means that you haven't done enough inner work in yourself to feel content and feel happy with yourself. Usually, people who choose the conscious solitude path versus trying to be in a relationship with somebody just so they can feel some happiness is because the people who are consciously choosing to be alone are working on becoming the better version of self. They're working to cultivate a healthier relationship with self. They know inside they're not ready for a relationship. They know inside that they're traumatized, they're not healed, they're not in a space to be in a healthy relationship. So they are choosing themselves first and putting the time and the energy and their effort to have a healthier relationship with self, which is why conscious solitude When you choose this path and you do it correctly in healing yourself, you're not going to have a need to want to be with another person. You're going to actually feel quite content and quite fulfilled in your own space, in your own solitude. And if you are going to entertain other people into your life, you're going to be screening, profiling, and qualifying the people you allow into your life. If this person is going to enhance my life, this person is going to bring some sort of value, this person is going to help me become a better version of myself. So these people have more consciousness and more awareness in the direction they want to head, and the people they entertain and who they're going to allow into their space. Due to this level of awareness and also emotional and spiritual maturity, they don't really need that much external validation versus the people who operate in a 3D state of consciousness where they are still emotionally unhealed, immature, still a part of the matrix programming, want to partake in these festive holidays, and if they don't have a partner in Valentine's Day and they don't have a partner at Christmas, they feel lonely, they feel whatever, because they're buying to the programming, to the culture of the 3D matrix programming. And because they're also broken on the inside, when you're broken and damaged on the inside, you're not going to really feel complete and whole in yourself. Of course, you're also going to be wearing a fake mask all the time, and you're living an inauthentic life. Inauthenticity always leads to unhappiness. Okay, if you want to live a happy life, be authentic. Strive to be as authentic as possible. Be honest with yourself. Follow your heart. Don't live in fear. Don't allow yourself to be controlled by fear. That's going to be the formula for misery. That's going to be the formula for you stuck in a prison and where you're not going to be happy. So this is why once you embrace this journey of ascension and consciously choose to work on yourself, heal your trauma, detoxify your body, and focus on your ascension journey, conscious solitude becomes, a blessing in disguise. You're not going to have that need to be in a relationship with somebody who's not even on the same level as you, who's not going to bring you any type of emotional satisfaction if they're not going to be putting the same effort in working themselves as you. It's not going to be a compatible relationship with someone like that. You're going to feel like, I'm better off alone. This person just acts as baggage. They're not growing with me. So if they're not going to be growing with me, why would I want to be in a relationship with somebody who's going to be holding me back? Usually, if you're in a relationship where you feel like you're being held back, I find that it's better to get rid of that person, because then your ascension journey is going to be able to skyrocket a lot faster, because you have a lot more time to dedicate to yourself, to work on yourself, versus then now sharing a lot of your time to entertain that other person. Using that big chunk of time, getting yourself distracted versus working on yourself and actually doing the inner work. This inner work that I'm talking about is no joke. It takes a lot of effort and introspection and a lot of energy and effort to be alone, to examine your consciousness, to examine these wounds, these traumas. Most people don't want to do this work because it's very hard, because you actually have to relive those experiences and be able to see these experiences from a different point of view in order to heal it. If you're not willing to do that, you're always going to be stuck in the 3D, emotionally immature state of consciousness where you're easily triggered, reactive, defensive, and you're controlled by other people because they can push your buttons and set you off. This is a state you don't want to operate in, because you're still very unhealed and not balancing your energy. You haven't learned how to actually be balancing your divine masculine and your divine feminine energy, which is all very important in your ascension journey. Okay? Now speak about